There we go. Okay, I hope this works.
Yeah.
So it looks like we have a few people, but I was going to give it a few minutes just to see if anybody else popped in.
All right. This is exciting.
So I know it's like, oh, I don't know. We'll see how this goes. So for the people that are already here, we're going to be talking tonight to Jocelyn Fitzgerald, and she's the co-author of a book called Colorful Place, Mindful Story and Art for Kids. And she co-wrote it with Heather McClelland. Yay, there it is. Thank you. And I think we'll just go ahead and jump in, and then hopefully people will join us as we're going along. But I thought that would a fun way to start would be, so I'm seeing at the bookstore lots and lots of books for kids, much more than there used to be, with the word mindfulness in the title. And before we start talking about Colorful Place, can you just talk about what mindfulness is, so that people who maybe have heard the term, and like, all those terms where we think we kind of know what it is, but we haven't ever really looked it up or asked like exactly what it means. Can you just talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. So mindfulness is about being in the present moment. And the part that I love that Jon Kabat-Zinn uses is being in the present moment without being judgmental of whatever's coming up. So I think oftentimes people are like, oh, mindfulness is the same as meditation, and clearing my mind is just an impossible feat. But really, it's not about clearing your mind of thoughts. It's just about noticing your thoughts that are there. And in the noticing, being mindful of noticing your thoughts, it gives you a little bit of a time to think about what's coming up for you, and then to maybe make a decision without reacting. So you can have a mindful response to what's happening. And for us working with kids, we thought this was so important to start teaching at a young age, so that they can learn to regulate emotions and deal with big emotions without that big explosive reaction.
Right. And then I would just sort of segueing from that into, so you touched on it at the very end of your answer, but in practical terms, how does mindfulness, the concept of mindfulness, help us as humans, adults or kids or anybody, knowing what that is and learning about it? How does that translate into beneficial things for us?
Yeah, I think it just helps us to slow down and recognize what's going on in our mind, maybe what's in our body, so that we're not just reacting constantly to the feedback loop of our lives, of technology, so that we can be more calm and present to the world.
Thank you. That's helpful, because I think a lot of times it's one of those things where we think, oh, this new concept, and it's I see it everywhere now, and but we don't exactly understand what it is or how it's beneficial. So can you just share a little bit about the book now? Like, how did you come to write it? Are any stories about how it came to be? And if you want to pop up and show the cover again, because I think we might have some newer people that didn't get to see it the first time. So for those of you that weren't here right at the beginning, the book is Colorful Place, a mindful story for and art for kids. And the person who I'm talking to tonight is Jocelyn Fitzgerald, who's one of the co-authors of the book with Heather McClelland. And so we were just talking about mindfulness a little bit earlier, but now I was asking Jocelyn, like, how did she come to write the book, and what's the story behind the book?
Yeah, so I'm an art therapist. I'm also a marriage and family therapist, and Heather is a behavioral teacher in the public school system. Our sons were in kindergarten together. Now they're in 6th grade, and they've been on the same basketball team for years, and they're just tonight at basketball practice again. So we were basketball mom friends talking about how much we admired each other's careers, and we would talk about how Heather was incorporating mindfulness into her curriculum with kids in the school system, and how I was using art to create mindfulness with the kids I was working with. And we just had this idea a long time ago, what if we created a book somehow? But it was always just kind of a dream. And then and then the pandemic hit, and we were both extremely worried about kids and what we were seeing, and my practice was getting busier, and I was worried about all these kids that weren't getting the services that they needed because all these therapists were full, and Heather was doing online work, and she was worried about kids that were showing up and the kids that weren't showing up online. And so we just thought this is the time to put together this book, of our two loves of mindfulness and of art therapy. I also had been doing, in my son's classroom for a year. The teacher allowed me to come in and create these meditations, these like guided stories, and then to do art with the kids in his class. And I started out with really short stories. They were 5 minutes long. And then as the year progressed, their ability to stay focused and to sit with the story got longer and longer. And by the end of the year, I did a story that was 20 minutes long. And they were so into it and just present. And then they would create art around the mindfulness and the story. And they were just such great teachers for me that this is really a skill set that we can teach and that can grow over time. And so it all just kind of came together within that year of the first year of the pandemic. And then, you know, I love art and creating art. So it was a joy for me to get to do the art and practice my own mindfulness during all the stress that I was feeling too, with trying to homeschool my son and have my practice. So we both really practice what we preach in the book.
Can you show, I'm actually, I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm just warning everybody. Nope, that's not going to do it. I was trying to figure out, and I'll have to look this up for next time, but I was trying to figure out how to make you on top so that you're not being covered up by all the words. Maybe but I don't know how to do that. So we'll learn that for next time. But if you could share a little bit about the actual book, like how what's in the book and how does it work, and I will. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up for next time because I don't really want you to be on the book. I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah. So the book is, it really is a tool for parents and teachers and therapists to use. It starts out with the first 3 pages, really just talking about how to set this up for the kids that you're either working with or they're in your home, how to create a cozy environment, when's the best time to do it, how to get the wiggles out so that there can be this mindful experience. So it starts with the brief instructions of how to do it, and then it goes into several different skills that are kind of interweaved. So we have what's called progressive muscle relaxation, which is where you teach kids to systematically go through each muscle group, each of the 16 large muscle groups, and clench them and then release. Because if we just tell our kids, just relax your body, they don't really know what that means or how to do that. So by clenching them tight and then releasing, you can really start to feel that relaxation. There's some measured breathing, so counting when you breathe in and then holding and then releasing the air as you breathe out. So there's several different exercises that kind of lead into the story. And then in the middle, there is two pages of just a story where you invite the child to close their eyes and go inside, and you read the guided visualization, and they're activating their imagination. I talk a lot about with kids how we're so good at imagining fear-based things. We're really good at being scared, and even my son really struggled with the fire alarm. Even though he knew it was coming, he would always get so nervous that this was going to be a horrible experience. So we talked about how you can use the imagination to also create calm and relaxation within your body. So then after the story, we do some more breathing and we gently come out of that guided story. And then we end it with some art exercises. So there's, I think, 3 or 4 different art exercises, and they're all meant to be really kind of slow and mindful. And there's a series of questions that you can ask your kids to help them engage more mindfully with their experience. And I've just found that using art is just such a great tool into a mindful practice. It's a great bridge to help kids learn how to be present in their body and mind.
And you said that this is something that parents could use, like even if they don't have any experience with this themselves. So
Yep.
is there kind of instructions at all of how to use it in the book?
Yep. Yes. So anyone,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you, I know it's a little hard, it's probably going to be a little bit hard for people to see because of me not being able to figure out how to flop us, but can you show some of the pages from
Sure.
the book?
Do you want me to try? There's a little X on your camera, but I'm just worried if I hit it, it will erase you. Should I try it?
I think that might end the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So for those of you who just joined, this is our very, very first Vintage Books Live. And so I was on the computer today looking up how to do all the things. And so we got the basics down. We figured out how to make Jocelyn be here, which I'm feeling very happy about. But clearly I'm going to have to look up how to not have her face covered up with words. So if anybody knows that off the top of your head, you can put it in the comments. That would be fabulous. But that's
Yeah.
but we're still gonna have her show pictures, even though we can't see her very well.
Okay. Okay. So,
And that actually might be something that's on my screen and not on everybody else's. I don't know, but
oh yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of show once we get into. So, I mean, I have teacher friends that use this and they just use one page at a time with their class. So this is a great example. You can just use the body and say, what are you feeling in your body? And give them vocabulary. So this page has words they can use. So for a teacher, this might be all you do with your kindergarten class in the first day. Let's just notice what you feel in your body. And then I love this one. This is just two wolves breathing in and out, noticing your breath coming in and your breath.
That's fun.
Yeah. And then again, that body awareness. You know, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, who I love, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score, it's all about trauma in the body, talks about you can't have an anxious mind in a calm body. So sometimes a great way into calm is by creating calm in the body, and then the mind will follow. And then there's a little cat that's relaxing.
So I should let you know while Jocelyn's showing the pictures, if anybody that's watching has any questions for us, we're getting close to wrapping up. We were just going to keep it fairly short the first time just to see how it worked and how to use it and that kind of thing. So this is our first time and it's a trial run. But I'm happy to relay any questions that you have for Jocelyn here at the end while so go ahead and type them in if you have any while she's sharing some of the book, and then we can ask those questions.
I'll just share a couple pieces of art that you can do with your kids. So this one is creating sidewalk chalk paint, which is so much fun. And I use it in these I get these squeezy bottles from the dollar store. And it's just, there's a recipe in it: cornstarch, baking soda, food coloring, and water. And kids just have so much fun creating these huge drawings on the sidewalk around what they're feeling. And then I love this one too. It's using coffee filters.
So interesting.
You do little I like to use pens that are scented. So you do scribbles or drawings or a rainbow on the coffee filters. And then you can spray them with water and you watch the paint expand. So that's kind of your mindful moment with the coffee filters, is that it really gets big and expansive. And anything you can do to activate the senses is going to be bringing in that mindfulness. So with this one, you have the texture of the water, or the little cotton balls. You have the scent from the markers, and then you can feel the texture with your hands. So you're really getting all those senses involved.
So how in the brain, so we talked a little bit about how mindfulness is helpful, and when you're engaging in these kinds of activities, like how does that change? What changes occur in the mind and the body that are helpful when you are focusing on stuff like this?
Well, one thing I know is that art really activates all areas of the brain. So art is going to be engaging the whole brain. It's also going to be activating, it's going to be turning down the cortisol levels, the hormone that creates stress. What is it activating in the brain? I don't know. I don't know how I would answer that. But I do know they've done studies with cortisol, which is the stress hormone, with doctors and nurses in art. And they swabbed their cheek before starting art making. And these are a lot of people that never do art, have no very little experience. And then they did 45 minutes and then they swabbed their cheek again. And their cortisol levels went way down. It didn't matter if they were artists or not. Like most of them were not artists.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Anything else? Oh, I should share that you can get copies of A Colorful Place at Vintage Books, obviously. Like we would not want to torment anybody with a book author interview that was when we couldn't get the books. But so that's available either online or coming into the store, but we have copies available. And I don't see any questions coming, so we can just wrap up. I'm really super happy that you were willing to do this inaugural event and be a guinea pig. And so thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was great.
And thanks for everybody who popped by.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.